Clara Bennett wiped her palms on the worn apron of her part-time job and glanced at the clock. The evening sun cast a golden glow over the city streets outside, and a light drizzle had begun to fall, turning the sidewalks into a mosaic of reflections. She had promised Lily they'd stop by the small downtown cafe before heading home, a rare treat after a long, exhausting day. Lily Bennett, her 6-year-old daughter, skipped ahead, her little rain boots splashing in puddles. Her laughter was bright and infectious, but in Clara's mind, it was tinged with worry. Money had been tight all week, and she had barely enough for the week's groceries. Yet, seeing Lily's happiness made every struggle feel lighter, if only for a moment. The cafe was warm, smelling of fresh pastries and roasted coffee. Clara found a corner table by the window, carefully balancing Lily on the chair next to her. Lily's wide eyes scanned the shelves lined with muffins and cookies, her small fingers tapping on the glass display. "Mom, can I have the chocolate muffin?" Lily asked, her voice hopeful. Clara's stomach tightened. "Honey, let's see, maybe we can share one. We have to be careful with our budget." Lily's face fell slightly, but she nodded obediently. Clara ordered a coffee for herself and the muffin for Lily. As she set the items on the table, she realized Lily's little hands were shaking with excitement. "Careful, sweetie," Clara said, guiding Lily's hand to avoid spilling the warm chocolate muffin. But fate had other plans. In her excitement, Lily accidentally knocked over a glass of water. It splashed across the table, dripping onto the floor. "Oh no, I'm so sorry, Mom." Lily cried, tears forming in her eyes. Clara's heart ached at her daughter's distress. "It's okay, baby, it's just water," Clara reassured, quickly grabbing napkins to clean up the mess. She glanced up and caught the attention of a man sitting at a nearby table. He was tall, with a calm presence that immediately put her at ease. Dark hair slightly tousled, eyes soft yet attentive, and a warm smile that seemed to understand every worry she felt. He didn't scold or judge. He simply nodded gently, as if to say, "It's all right." Clara felt a small wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you," she murmured, more to herself than to him. The man stood up and walked over. "You don't need to be sorry," he said softly, his voice gentle. "Kids have accidents all the time. It's part of growing up." Clara looked at him, surprised. There was no condescension in his tone, only kindness. Thank you," she whispered. I'm trying my best." He nodded, as if he understood more than words could express. "I can see that, and your daughter is lucky to have you." Lily, still sniffing, looked up at the man with wide eyes. "Are you going to stay and watch me eat my muffin?" she asked timidly. He chuckled lightly. "I think I'll just watch from over here, if that's all right." He gestured toward his table, giving them space, but there was warmth in his gaze. Clara felt her heart lift slightly. She hadn't realized how tense she had been until the stranger showed simple, unobtrusive kindness. It wasn't about money or gifts. It was the acknowledgement that she was doing her best, and that mattered. "Mom," Lily whispered, "he's nice." "I know, sweetie," Clara replied softly, pressing a kiss to her daughter's forehead. The man returned to his seat, quietly observing without interrupting, giving Clara the subtle reassurance she didn't even know she needed. For the next few minutes, Clara watched Lily take small bites of her muffin, smiling as the chocolate melted on her tongue. The rainy city outside felt a little warmer somehow, as if the kindness in the room had spilled into the streets. When Clara went to pay, she realized she had just enough of the coffee. She hesitated at the counter, frowning slightly. That's when the man approached again. He discreetly handed the cashier a card. "It's covered," he said simply. "Enjoy your evening." Clara's eyes widened. "You really didn't have to." He smiled warmly. "I wanted to. Sometimes a little kindness goes a long way." Then he walked back to his table, nodding as he passed by. Clara returned to her seat, tears pricking her eyes. Lily looked at her curiously. "Mom, why are you crying?" Clara smiled through the tears. "Sometimes, honey, people remind us that the world isn't all hard, that there's still goodness, even in little things." Lily's small hand found Clara's. "I like him," she said softly. "Yes, me too," Clara whispered. She realized that night, as she watched the man leave the cafe later, that small, quiet gestures could change someone's entire day. It wasn't wealth or fame. It was a humanity in simple kindness. As they stepped out into the rain, Clara held Lily's hand tightly, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. Somewhere out there, a stranger had reminded them that hope still existed. And maybe, just maybe, the world wasn't as heavy as it seemed. The next morning, Clara woke to the sound of raindrops tapping against the window. Lily was already awake, curled up beside her favorite stuffed rabbit, humming a little tune she had made up. Clara smiled at the sight, but her chest tightened with the usual worries. Rent was due in 2 days, groceries were almost gone, and her part-time shifts wouldn't cover everything. Despite the stress, she forced a deep breath and whispered to herself, one step at a time. After breakfast, Clara bundled Lily in a tiny yellow raincoat, their usual routine before heading to the library. The streets were still damp from the previous night's drizzle, and puddles reflected the morning light like tiny mirrors. Clara held Lily's hand tightly, mindful of every splash as they walked. I hope we can come back to the cafe today, Mom, Lily said, bouncing on her tiptoes. I liked the chocolate muffin yesterday. Clara hesitated, calculating the week's meager budget. We'll see, sweetie. Maybe just a quick stop. As they approached the cafe, Clara felt a flutter of nerves. She didn't want to impose, but something about yesterday's encounter lingered in her mind. The stranger's quiet kindness, the understanding in his eyes. To her surprise, the cafe seemed busier than usual. A small line had formed at the counter, and the aroma of fresh coffee and baked goods filled the air. Clara guided Lily to a corner table again, trying to act casual while glancing around for a familiar stranger. And then she saw him. He was sitting at the same table as yesterday, but this time he was reading a book. When his eyes met hers, he smiled. A small, knowing smile that made Clara's cheeks flush. Lily waved shyly. Good morning, he said softly. I hope you don't mind me saying hello. Not at all, Clara replied, her voice catching slightly. The man, Ethan, she had learned his name from the cashier, stood up and walked over. I saw you walk by, he said gently. Thought I'd check if everything was all right. Clara blinked, surprised. Everything is fine, thank you. Lily tugged at her mother's sleeve. Mom, can I say hi? Of course, sweetie, Clara whispered. Lily ran forward, waving enthusiastically. Ethan crouched slightly to meet her eye level. Hello there, Lily, he said with warmth. It's nice to see you again. Lily grinned, showing a missing front tooth. I remember you. You're the nice man from yesterday. Ethan chuckled. That's me, the same one. Clara watched the interaction with a mixture of amusement and relief. Her daughter's happiness was contagious, and Ethan's presence seemed to make the cafe a little brighter. As Clara prepared to order, she realized she had forgotten her wallet. A flush of panic rose in her chest. She was about to apologize when Ethan stepped forward, discreetly handing a note to the cashier. This one's on me, he said quietly. Clara froze, her heart pounding. You really don't have to, she murmured. Ethan smiled, his eyes kind. I want to. Sometimes a small act of kindness can mean more than anything else. Clara accepted the muffins and coffee with grateful nod, feeling a lump in her throat. She didn't know him, and yet he had offered help without any expectation in return. It was rare to encounter someone so thoughtful. They sat down, and Clara took a sip of the warm coffee. Lily, oblivious of the tension, happily nibbled on her muffin. You know, Ethan said, leaning slightly, I work nearby, and I often see people rushing through life, worrying about bills, schedules, everything. But today, I saw something different. I saw someone who genuinely cares for a child, despite all the challenges. Clara's eyes widened. I try my best. I can see that, Ethan said softly, and that matters. Sometimes, that's more important than anything else. For a moment, Clara didn't know how to respond. Words failed her. Instead, she reached over and gently squeezed Lily's hand, feeling a warmth that had little to do with the coffee in front of her. Lily looked up, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. Mom, why is he so nice to us? Clara smiled. Some people, they notice kindness in others and want to support it. Honey, that's all. Ethan chuckled lightly, then stood. I should get back to work, but I wanted to say, you're doing an amazing job. Keep going. Clara watched him walk toward the door, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and awe. How could a stranger care so much, so quietly, without expecting anything in return? Lily whispered, Mom, maybe he's like a guardian angel. Clara laughed softly, brushing back a loose strand of hair. Maybe he is, sweetie. Maybe he is. As they stepped back into the drizzle outside, Clara felt lighter than she had in months. The day didn't suddenly have more money or fewer bills, but something far more important had changed. Hope. The small acts of kindness, the acknowledgement of her struggles, and the gentle understanding of a stranger had reminded her that even in a hard world, there were people who cared, and sometimes that was enough to keep moving forward. The weeks that followed were a mixture of ordinary struggles and tiny joys. Clara Bennett worked long hours at her part-time job at the flower shop, arranging bouquets and helping customers with a smile that belied the exhaustion she felt. Life was never easy, but her daughter Lily was a constant source of light. Her laughter balmed Clara's tired heart. One Tuesday afternoon, Clara found herself juggling grocery bags, a backpack full of Lily's school supplies, and the ever-present worry in her chest. Lily skipped along beside her, humming a little tune she had made up on the way home. Clara watched her, heart aching with love. One day, Lily, she whispered, things will be easier for us. We'll have what we need, and you'll have every chance to dream big. At the grocery store, Clara carefully examined the shelves, calculating every penny. The family budget was stretched thin, and she had to make difficult choices. Some items she wanted to buy were beyond reach, and she often had to put things back, swallowing her frustration and the pangs of disappointment she tried to hide from Lily. Lily tugged at her hand, pointing to a box of crayons. Mom, can we get these? They're only a little more than last week's ones. Clara forced a smile. We'll see, honey. Maybe next week, okay? She felt a pang of guilt as Lily's eyes fell, but she couldn't buy everything. Not now. As they walked toward the checkout, Clara noticed a familiar figure at the end of the aisle. Ethan stood there, casually examining a small selection of books. When their eyes met, he smiled warmly. Clara felt a mixture of surprise and relief. He wasn't supposed to know her schedule or her struggles, but somehow he seemed to always appear at just the right moment. Clara, Lily, he greeted softly. Hello again. Hi, Clara said, slightly flustered. It's nice to see you. Lily waved shyly. Hi. Ethan nodded. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. Clara shook her head. No, it's fine. Just the usual grocery run. He glanced at the items Clara had chosen, noticing the careful selection, and the few things she had put back. His gaze softened. Without making a show of it, he reached into his bag and handed the cashier a note. The cashier's eyes widened slightly. All set, she said quietly. Clara blinked. I didn't. Ethan smiled, stepping closer. It's just a small help. Consider it a little encouragement. You're doing an amazing job, and sometimes that deserves recognition. Clara's eyes filled with tears. You didn't have to. I can manage. Sometimes managing is enough, Ethan said softly, and it's okay to accept help when it comes kindly. Lily, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, tugged at her mother's sleeve. Mom, he's nice again. Clara knelt to hug her daughter. Yes, sweetie, he is. He really is. The rest of the afternoon passed quietly. Clara noticed the small details of the day with renewed appreciation. The warmth of the sun peeking through the clouds, the laughter of children playing outside, the little acts of kindness that seemed to appear out of nowhere. It was as if Ethan's presence reminded her to notice the small joys amidst life's struggles. That evening, back at their modest apartment, Clara prepared a simple dinner, while Lily drew pictures of the cafe and the kind man who had touched their lives twice in such unexpected ways. Mom, Lily said, holding up a crayon drawing. This is him. He's smiling at us. Clara smiled through tired eyes. That's wonderful. Honey, keep drawing. As Lily went to bed, Clara sat by the window, reflecting on the day. Life was far from perfect, but the quiet support from Ethan, the acknowledgement of her hard work, and the gentle ways in which he made their days brighter gave her hope. Hope that things could get better, that someone out there noticed the small battles she fought every day, and that even in a city filled with strangers, kindness could be found. Clara's thoughts drifted to the future, imagining a life where Lily could grow up without the constant worry of money or opportunity. She dreamed of simple moments, reading stories together, laughing without worry, and maybe, just maybe, a world where kindness wasn't rare. And somewhere out there, Ethan was quietly making a difference in their lives, not with grandeur or announcements, but with subtle, heartfelt gestures. Clara didn't know how he managed it or why he chose to help, but she realized something important. Sometimes, it wasn't about the size of the help, but the thought behind it, the love, the recognition, the reminder that someone saw you. That was what truly mattered. Clara went to bed that night, feeling a little lighter than she had in weeks. Lily slept soundly beside her, clutching her stuffed rabbit, dreaming of muffins and sunshine. And Clara allowed herself a rare smile, thinking about the stranger who had quietly reminded her that even small acts of kindness could transform a life. The weekend arrived with a crisp, sunny morning that felt almost magical. Clara Bennett decided it was a perfect day to take Lily to the city park. Between work and household chores, there were few moments when they could simply breathe, laugh, and enjoy the simplicity of being together. Lily ran ahead along the winding paths, her laughter echoing off the trees. She stopped occasionally to pick up a fallen leaf or watch a squirrel scamper across a branch. Clara followed more slowly, carrying a small bag with sandwiches and water bottles, a peaceful smile on her face. "Mom, look!" Lily shouted suddenly, holding up a colorful leaf. "It's like a rainbow." Clara chuckled. "It is beautiful, just like you said. Nature has a way of surprising us, doesn't it?" As they walked toward the small fountain in the center of the park, Clara noticed a familiar figure sitting on a bench nearby, reading a book. Her heart skipped a beat. It was Ethan. Ethan looked up and smiled warmly, as if he'd been expecting them. "Clara, Lily," he said softly. "What a nice surprise." Lily waved shyly. "Hi." Clara felt a mix of relief and surprise. "Hello. I didn't know you'd be here." "I come here sometimes," Ethan replied. "It's peaceful, a good place to think. And I remembered you mentioning how much Lily loves the park." Lily's eyes sparkled. "You remembered," she exclaimed, bouncing excitedly. Ethan chuckled. "Of course. It's hard to forget a bright smile like yours." Clara felt a warmth in her chest she hadn't expected. There was something about Ethan's presence, gentle, patient, observant, that made ordinary moments feel extraordinary. They settled on a nearby patch of grass, unpacking sandwiches for a small picnic. Lily eagerly opened hers and began nibbling, occasionally glancing at Ethan. "You know," he said, leaning slightly toward Clara, "I've seen how much you do for her, day in and day out. Balancing work, life, and parenting isn't easy." Clara shook her head softly. "I do what I can. Some days it feels like it's never enough, but Lily makes it all worth it." Ethan nodded. "And that's exactly why it matters what you do. Not the money or the accolades, just showing up, loving her, teaching her to dream. That's what shapes her world." Lily piped up, crumbs on her cheeks. "Mom works really hard. And she's nice, too." Clara laughed, brushing crumbs off Lily's shirt. "Thank you, honey. That's very sweet of you." Ethan's gaze softened. "She's right, you know. I admire you, Clara. Not many people manage everything with so much love." Clara felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them away. She wasn't used to receiving praise for simply surviving and caring. "Thank you, that means a lot." For the next hour, they watched the world go by. Children played on swings, dogs ran with their owners, and the sunlight danced across the water of the fountain. Lily showed Ethan the drawings she had made of the cafe and of little scenes from her life. Ethan complimented her work, asking questions about the colors and stories behind each drawing. Lily's laughter rang clear as she explained, completely at ease with him. Clara observed quietly, realizing something she hadn't fully acknowledged before. Ethan wasn't just kind in passing. He genuinely cared, not out of obligation, but because he chose to notice the small details of their lives, the struggles, the joys, and the love between mother and daughter. At one point, Lily tugged at Clara's sleeve. "Mom, can we go to the ice cream stand?" Clara hesitated, checking her small wallet. I don't think we have enough today, honey." Before she could finish, Ethan stepped forward with a gentle smile. "I insist. Consider a small treat for such a lovely afternoon." Clara shook her head quickly. I can't." "You can," Ethan said softly. "It's just ice cream. Think of it as a little happiness for both of you. No strings attached." Reluctantly, Clara agreed, allowing Lily to run ahead with a delighted squeal. As they enjoyed their cones by the fountain, the simple sweetness of the ice cream felt amplified by the warmth of the moment. Clara realized that day that kindness didn't have to be grandiose or dramatic. It could be quiet, unassuming, and still transform a day into something unforgettable. As the afternoon sun began to dip, casting long shadows across the park, Ethan stood. "I should be going, but I want to make sure your day was special." Clara smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "It already was, thanks to you." Lily hugged him tightly. "Thank you for the ice cream." Ethan ruffled her hair gently. "Any time, little one. Keep smiling, okay?" As he walked away, Clara realized that life was no longer just about enduring struggles. It was about noticing the small acts of kindness that could make everything feel lighter. And sometimes those small gestures were enough to restore hope, even in the busiest, most challenging city. Walking home hand in hand, Clara and Lily laughed over little stories, their hearts full of warmth. Clara couldn't help but glance back toward the park, feeling a quiet sense of comfort knowing that someone like Ethan existed in their world. Someone who noticed, someone who cared, and someone who made ordinary days feel extraordinary. The weeks that followed the park encounter felt different for Clara Bennett, though she couldn't quite put her finger on why. Life was still full of challenges, bills to pay, errands to run, part-time shift to cover, but there were little moments that seemed brighter, almost as if hope had been quietly woven into her days. It began with small, unassuming gestures. One morning, as Clara hurried to Lily's school with a stack of homework and a half-eaten breakfast, she noticed an envelope tucked into her mailbox. Curious, she opened it and found a simple note. "For school supplies. Keep inspiring your daughter. E." Along with the note was a gift card to a local stationery store. Clara's hands trembled slightly. She had never met anyone who understood her struggles so intimately without her having asked for help. That afternoon, she took Lily to the store. "Look, sweetie," Clara said, showing her daughter the colorful notebooks, crayons, and pencils. "We can pick whatever we like today." Lily's eyes sparkled. "Really, Mom? We can get everything." Clara nodded, fighting back tears. "Yes, darling, we can." As they selected the items, Clara couldn't help but feel gratitude toward the mysterious benefactor. Who notices this much? Who cares this much without expecting anything in return? She wondered. Later that week, Clara was struggling to stretch her paycheck across groceries, rent, and the little extras Lily enjoyed. She paused at the checkout counter, feeling the familiar pang of frustration as she placed a few items back on the shelf. Then, as if on cue, Ethan appeared at the grocery store once more. He didn't make a show of it. He simply approached the cashier with a polite smile. By the time Clara realized what was happening, her groceries had been quietly paid for. I can't accept this," Clara said, her voice trembling. "You can," Ethan replied softly. "Sometimes, kindness is meant to be shared, not questioned. You're doing your best. That's what matters." Clara nodded, tears filling her eyes, but warmth spread to her chest that went far beyond material help. It's not about the money, she thought. It's about being seen, being understood, being reminded that we're not alone. A few days later, Clara arrived home from work to find a small package waiting on her doorstep. Inside was a pair of new rain boots for Lily, bright yellow with little flowers printed on the sides. A note accompanied them. "For puddles and adventures, so she can keep laughing. E." Lily squealed with delight when she saw them. "Mom, look, Now I can jump in puddles all day. Clara hugged her daughter tightly. Yes, sweetie, now you can. She felt her heart swell with gratitude, not only for the gifts but for the thoughtfulness behind them. It wasn't just about helping. It was about recognizing the joy that could be found in the little things. Over the next few weeks, the Bennett household was touched repeatedly by these small, heartfelt gestures. A library card renewed, a note left for Clara at the flower shop praising her dedication, a delivery of warm pastries on a particularly cold morning, all anonymous, yet unmistakably from the same thoughtful person. Clara began to notice a subtle change within herself. She felt lighter, more hopeful. She smiled more freely, laughed more often with Lily, and allowed herself to believe that good things could happen without effort, without expectation, simply because someone cared. One Saturday afternoon, Clara and Lily were at the park again, enjoying the gentle warmth of spring. Lily chased butterflies while Clara sat on a bench, watching her with a quiet smile. As she breathed in the fresh air, she noticed a man approaching, tall, composed, with that familiar calm presence. "Hello, Clara." "Lily," Ethan said softly, crouching slightly to meet Lily's eyes. Lily ran to him immediately, throwing her arms around his legs. "Hi, look at my new rain boots." Ethan chuckled, looking down at her with warmth. "They're perfect for puddle adventures, I see." Clara felt her cheeks warm. "Thank you for everything. Truly." Ethan shook his head gently. "You don't need to thank me. You've done all the hard work. I just want to make the path a little easier for you and Lily." Clara studied him for a moment, realizing how rare it was to encounter someone so genuinely kind and thoughtful. "Most people wouldn't notice or care," she murmured. "That's exactly why it matters," Ethan replied softly. "Small gestures, little encouragements, they can mean more than grand acts. And your love for Lily? That's extraordinary." For the first time in months, Clara felt truly seen, not for her mistakes, her struggles, or her lack of wealth, but for her heart, her dedication, and her endless care for her daughter. Lily tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, can we draw together?" Clara laughed softly, standing up and taking her daughter's hand. "Of course, sweetie. Let's find a nice spot in the grass." Ethan watched him for a moment, a quiet smile on his face, before giving him a small nod and walking away. Clara felt a warmth settle in her chest, the kind that comes from knowing someone notices, someone cares, someone silently makes your life brighter. As they spread out a small blanket and pulled out Lily's new crayons, Clara realized something important. Life wasn't just about enduring struggles. It was about noticing the small acts of love and kindness that could transform ordinary days into moments of joy. And thanks to Ethan's quiet, unobtrusive generosity, their world was changing, not in grand, dramatic ways, but in subtle, heartwarming ones that reminded Clara every day that hope, love, and kindness still existed, even in the busiest, most challenging city. It had been months since Clara Bennett first met the kind stranger at the cafe, yet his presence had quietly woven itself into her life. Small gestures, thoughtful notes, and subtle acts of generosity had brightened days she had long thought dim. But until now, she had never seen him fully, never truly known who he was beyond the quiet kindness. It was a late afternoon in early summer when the revelation came. Clara had taken Lily to the public library for story time. The sun streamed through the tall windows, and the soft hum of children's laughter filled the space. As Clara read a story aloud, she felt a familiar sense of calm, the kind that had come to her when she was in Ethan's presence. After story time, they walked hand in hand along the tree-lined streets, Lily chatting excitedly about the stories and illustrations. Clara was thinking about the upcoming week, worried about bills and deadlines, when she noticed a sleek black car parked nearby. A man stepped out, tall, composed, and impossibly familiar. "Clara," he said softly, walking toward them. His eyes were warm, yet there was a quiet confidence in his posture. "Hello, Lily." Lily's eyes widened. "It's you?" The nice man. Clara's heart skipped a beat. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" Ethan smiled gently. "I thought it was time to properly introduce myself. I've been helping in small ways for a while now, but I wanted you to know who I am." Clara's brow furrowed in confusion. "I don't understand. You've helped us so much." The gifts, the notes, all of it. Why? Ethan crouched slightly to meet Lily's gaze. Because I've seen you, Clara. I've watched how you love and care for your daughter, day after day, despite the hardships. That's the kind of dedication and love that deserves to be recognized and supported. Clara's eyes filled with tears. She looked down at Lily, who squeezed her hand gently, and then back at Ethan. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to say anything, he replied softly. Just know that my support comes with no expectations. I've only want to make your life a little easier and to remind you that kindness exists even in small gestures. Lily bounced on her toes. So, you're the one who helped us all this time? Ethan nodded. Yes, Lily. And I'm happy to see you smiling, enjoying life, and dreaming. That's all I've ever wanted. Clara felt her chest tighten. She had imagined many scenarios over the months, how someone could help them who they might be, but she had never expected the quiet, dignified man before her to be Ethan. There was an elegance to him, yes, but also a warmth and humility that made her feel safe and seen in a way she hadn't thought possible. Ethan, I can't thank you enough, Clara said, her voice trembling. You've changed our lives without even asking. Lily, she's happier. I'm lighter somehow. How do you? Ethan shook his head. You've done all the hard work. I only help carry a little weight along the way. That's what family, community, and kindness are for. Sometimes people just need a gentle reminder that they're not alone. Lily tugged on Clara's sleeve. Mom, he's like magic. Clara laughed softly, wiping a tear. Maybe he is, sweetie. Ethan smiled, standing and offering Clara a hand. I'd like to get to know both of you better. If you'll allow me. No pressure, just friendship, mentorship if you like. I want to see Lily grow, and I want to help in ways that matter beyond material things. Clara hesitated. Trust wasn't easily given. She had been cautious, protective of Lily, but something about Ethan's presence, his quiet sincerity, made the decision feel natural. She took his hand, nodding. We like that. I think Lily would love that. And she was right. Lily immediately hugged Ethan, her laughter ringing through the park. You're my friend now, she exclaimed. Yes, Lily. Ethan said softly, ruffling her hair. I'm your friend. They walked together along the park paths, talking about small things, books, flowers, and Lily's dreams of future. Ethan listened intently, asking questions and encouraging her imagination. Clara felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She could relax around him, knowing he didn't judge her struggles, her mistakes, or her financial hardships. He valued her for the love she gave, the effort she put into life, and the hope she nurtured in her daughter. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the park, Clara realized something profound. Life had not suddenly become easy. Bills still existed, challenges still loomed, and the world outside the park was as complicated as ever. But she felt a deep sense of reassurance, knowing that they had an ally in Ethan, a person who understood, supported, and quietly celebrated their small victories. Mom, Lily whispered, holding Clara's hand tightly. I'm happy. I feel safe. Clara smiled, tears streaming down her face, her heart full. Me too, sweetie. Me too. Ethan watched the mother-daughter pair, his heart swelling with quiet pride. He had never sought recognition or gratitude. The joy in their smiles, the warmth in their bond, and the hope in their hearts was reward enough. And in that moment, he knew that small acts of kindness, sincere attention, and genuine care could ripple out to transform lives in ways far beyond money or status. As they left the park together, Clara walking beside Ethan and Lily skipping ahead, she realized that life was no longer simply a struggle to survive. It was a series of moments filled with warmth, hope, and connection. A life made richer by trust, kindness, and the unexpected presence of someone who genuinely cared. And for the first time in a long while, Clara allowed herself to dream of a future that felt brighter, lighter, and infinitely more full of love. Summer had settled over the city, painting the streets in warm light and the parks in vibrant green. Clara Bennett felt a sense of calm she hadn't known in years. Life was still full of responsibilities and challenges, but now there was a new presence that changed everything, a quiet, steady force who cared deeply for her and Lily without expectation or judgment. Ethan had become a part of their lives in ways both subtle and profound. He didn't impose. He simply showed up, encouraged, and supported them in ways that allowed Clara to maintain her independence while still feeling a renewed sense of hope. One Saturday morning, Clara walked hand in hand with Lily through the bustling streets toward a small art workshop. Lily had discovered a love for painting, and Ethan had quietly arranged for her to attend classes once a week, paying for supplies and tuition without making a fuss. Clara had only recently discovered the arrangements and had been touched beyond words. "Mom, look at this," Lily said, holding up a paintbrush covered in bright blues and yellows. "I'm going to make a picture of the park with the fountain." Clara smiled, brushing a stray strand of hair from her daughter's face. "I'm sure it will be beautiful, sweetie. Go ahead and create." Ethan was already at the workshop, waiting outside with a gentle smile as the girls approached. "Hello, Clara." "Hello, Lily," he greeted softly. "Hi," Lily exclaimed, running into his arms. "I'm going to paint today." "I can see that," Ethan said warmly, "and I can't wait to see your masterpiece when it's finished." Clara felt a swell of gratitude. His encouragement went beyond material help. It nurtured Lily's imagination and confidence. It reminded Clara that her daughter's dreams mattered and that she wasn't alone in supporting them. Inside the workshop, Lily's excitement was contagious. She painted with abandon, creating bright, lively scenes full of color and joy. Ethan knelt beside Clara, watching her daughter with a quiet pride. "She's incredible," he murmured. "You've nurtured something truly special in her." Clara shook her head, feeling tears prick her eyes. "I just try to do my best. She's the joy of my life. I only hope I can give her everything she deserves." "You already have," Ethan said softly. "Sometimes, what children need most isn't what we can buy or provide materially. It's love, attention, and encouragement. You give her all of that and more." After the workshop, they walked to a small cafe nearby. Lily chattered excitedly about her painting, while Clara listened with a mixture of amusement and pride. Ethan ordered some pastries and juice for Lily, once again quietly covering the cost without drawing attention. Clara noticed but chose not to comment. She knew he wouldn't want acknowledgement. "Mom," Lily said between bites, "I love spending time with Mr. Ethan. He's so nice." Clara smiled, feeling warmth in her chest. "I know, sweetie. He cares about you, and he wants to see you happy and grow." Ethan looked at Clara, his eyes soft. "She has so much potential, and you created a space where she can explore it. That's remarkable." Clara's hands tightened around her coffee cup. "I thank you, Ethan, for everything. For helping us, for encouraging Lily, for just being here." "You don't need to thank me," he replied gently. "I chose to be here. I wanted to see you both thrive, not just survive. That's all." As the afternoon sun streamed to the cafe windows, Clara realized how much their lives had changed. The weight of constant worry had been replaced with a quiet confidence, a sense of possibility. She could see it in Lily's laughter, in the sparkle of curiosity in her eyes, and in the small joys that had become a daily rhythm. That evening, back at their apartment, Clara reflected on the weeks that had passed. She sat by the window, watching Lily play with her art supplies. The apartment was modest, but it was filled with warmth, laughter, and hope. Ethan's presence in their lives had become more than just occasional gestures. He offered guidance without controlling, encouragement without obligation, and a steady sense of care that allowed Clara to feel supported without losing her independence. Clara realized that the bond forming between them was not dependent on wealth or gifts. It was built on genuine kindness, understanding, and a shared respect for the love between mother and daughter. She could see it in the way Lily looked at him, not with fear, not with hesitation, but with trust, joy, and admiration. The next morning, Clara woke to find a small bouquet of flowers on the kitchen table, accompanied by a note. "For beauty in the everyday, keep smiling. E." Lily clapped her hands with delight. "Mom, look at the flowers," she exclaimed. Clara knelt to her daughter's height. "Yes, sweetie, someone is reminding us that even ordinary days can be beautiful." Lily hugged her tightly. "I like him, Mom. He makes everything better." Clara smiled, pressing a kiss to her daughter's forehead. "Yes, honey, He does. But remember, it's the love and care we share that makes everything truly special. That day, Clara realized that life wasn't just about surviving hardships. It was about cherishing moments of connection, kindness, and support. Ethan's gentle guidance had not only eased their burdens, but had also shown Clara that hope, trust, and joy could coexist with struggle. As the sun set over the city skyline, Clara felt a deep sense of peace. She held Lily's hand, watching her laugh as they walked home, and thought about the quiet yet profound impact one person's kindness could have. In Ethan, she found not just a friend, but a mentor and a supporter who reminded her daily of what truly mattered: love, hope, and the courage to embrace life fully, even amidst challenges. And for the first time in years, Clara allowed herself to believe that brighter days were not just possible. They were already beginning. Summer was fading into early autumn, the city streets now dappled with orange and gold leaves. For Clara Bennett and her daughter Lily, life felt lighter than it had in years. Small acts of kindness, quiet support, and a constant presence in their lives had transformed ordinary days into moments of hope, laughter, and connection. Clara sat at the kitchen table one morning, sipping her coffee and watching Lily arrange her new art supplies in meticulous order. Her daughter's excitement was infectious, and Clara couldn't help but smile. Life was still busy, and the city's relentless pace didn't pause for anyone, but now there was an underlying sense of peace in their home. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving, in ways small yet profound. A knock at the door drew Clara from her thoughts. She opened it to find Ethan standing there, holding a small envelope and a warm smile. "Good morning," he said softly. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "Not at all," Clara replied, smiling. Lily peeked around her mother's legs, eyes wide with curiosity. "I have something for you both," Ethan said, handing over the envelope. "No strings, just a little help for the start of the new school year." Clara opened it to find a letter along with a gift card for Lily's school supplies and art classes. Tears pricked her eyes as she looked up at Ethan. "You really didn't have to." He shook his head gently. "I wanted to. You've done so much for Lily already. This is just a little extra to make life a little easier." Lily hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Mr. Ethan." Clara watched the bond between her daughter and Ethan, feeling a swell of gratitude that went beyond words. It wasn't just material support. It was the time, attention, and encouragement he had given them that had truly transformed their lives. Over the next few days, Clara began noticing subtle changes in herself, too. She was calmer, more confident, and even more hopeful. She pursued new opportunities at work, took time to read with Lily, and allowed herself to enjoy moments of beauty in the city around her. And through it all, Ethan's quiet presence remained a constant reassurance. One crisp autumn afternoon, Clara, Lily, and Ethan met at the city park again. Lily was eager to show him her latest painting, a colorful rendition of the fountain where they had spent so many afternoons together. "I made this for you, Mr. Ethan," Lily said proudly, holding up the paper. "Thank you for everything." Ethan knelt to look at her work, eyes glimmering. "This is beautiful, Lily. You have such talent and so much imagination. I'm proud of you." Clara watched, a lump in her throat. The little girl in front of her had grown so much, not just in skill, but in confidence, joy, and self-assurance. And she knew that Ethan's gentle encouragement had played a significant role in that growth. As the sun began to set, painting the park in warm golden hues, Clara felt a quiet sense of completion. Life wasn't perfect. Bills still existed. Responsibilities still weighed on her, and challenges would always arise. But the transformation wasn't about perfection. It was about hope, love, and connection. Ethan stood, looking at them with a warmth that seemed to fill the space around him. "You've created something extraordinary here," he said softly. "The love, the care, the resilience, it's inspiring. Lily will carry this strength with her for the rest of her life." Clara smiled through tears. "It's been a journey, but I've learned something important. Life isn't about facing everything alone. Sometimes allowing others to help, to care, and to support you makes all the difference." Ethan nodded, his gaze kind and unwavering. "Exactly. And it's never too late to embrace that support or to let kindness guide your path." Lily tugged at Clara's hand. "Mom, can we draw together now?" I want to make more pictures for Mr. Ethan. Clara laughed softly, feeling a lightness she hadn't felt in years. Of course, sweetie. They found a quiet spot near the fountain, setting up their supplies. Lily painted with exuberance, while Clara sketched alongside her. Ethan watched them, a quiet smile on his face, knowing that the bond between mother and daughter had strengthened, nurtured not just by love but by the subtle, unwavering support he had quietly provided. As the evening sky deepened, Clara reflected on the journey they had taken, from uncertainty, worry, and exhaustion to hope, joy, and resilience. She realized that life's most powerful transformations weren't always grand or dramatic. They often came from quiet acts of kindness, the recognition of effort, and the unwavering presence of someone who truly cared. For Clara and Lily, Ethan had been that presence, and in turn, they had embraced hope, love, and the courage to see life differently, full of possibility, laughter, and small yet profound moments of happiness. As they packed up their art supplies and began walking home hand in hand, Clara looked at Lily, then at Ethan, and felt a profound sense of gratitude. Their world had changed, not because of wealth, fame, or grandeur, but because of kindness, attention, and a shared understanding of what truly mattered: love, hope, and the courage to face life together. That night, as Clara tucked Lily into bed, her daughter whispered, "Mom, today was perfect." Clara kissed her forehead, tears of joy in her eyes. "Yes, honey, it was. And remember, kindness and love can make every day a little more beautiful." Outside, the city lights glimmered softly, reflecting the quiet transformations within a modest apartment, a little girl's laughter and a mother's hope. And somewhere nearby, Ethan walked through the streets, knowing that small, heartfelt gestures had the power to change lives, and that in doing so, he had helped shape a future full of warmth, joy, and endless possibility. For Clara and Lily, life was no longer just about enduring. It was about embracing every small moment, every act of love, and every heartwarming connection that made their world brighter. And that was a gift worth more than anything money could buy. Clara and Lily's lives were forever changed by one quiet, kind man who saw their struggles and offered support without expectation. Through small gestures, gentle encouragement, and unwavering care, he reminded them that hope, love, and kindness can transform ordinary days into moments of joy. Sometimes it's the quiet, heartfelt connections that leave the biggest impact. And for Clara and Lily, every small act of care became a step toward a brighter, happier future.